Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q1 FY22 earnings conference call of Bandhan Bank Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Hiren Shah, Head of Investor Relations. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining this conference call. We are glad to welcome you all to discuss Bandhan Bank's business and financial performance for the quarter ending June 2021. We will take the opportunity to update you on the recent developments in the industry and Bandhan Bank during this quarter. To discuss all this in detail, I've got with me our founder, Managing Director and CEO, Mr. Chandra Shekhar Ghosh, our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Sunil Samdani, and myself, Hiren Shah. Now I would like to request our founder, MD and CEO, Mr. Chandra Shekhar Ghosh, to brief you all about our bank's operational and financial performance along with development for the quarter ending June 2021. Over to you, sir.
Good evening and welcome to this earnings call on our 2022 first quarter financial result. Thank you so much for attending in the evening of the day of working day closing on that. Hope you are taking care and stay safe. This is the quarter. We all know that it's a very challenging quarter in our life on that. Second wave and lockdown in severe parts of the country. In this time, second wave also impacted rural and the semi-urban areas. The silver lining is that beginning July, caseload has reduced and lockdowns have been lifted in different parts of the country. Healthcare infrastructure is now well equipped to deal with the cases, and vaccination drive has gathered momentum. We are get the confidence on that. Several rating agencies and the leading institutions predicted a high single-digit growth rate for Indian GDP in financial year 21-22, despite a severe second wave. Despite these challenges, business has done reasonably well. Advances have grown 8% year-on-year. Out of that, the 12% growth in EEB and 3% growth has come in a housing loan. And quarter-on-quarter basis, advance growth has declined 8%. So that is the total advance in the bank 80,357 crores as on 30th June 21. CASA has grown very good, which is the 47% year-on-year, and retail the ratio CASA is 43%. Our retail to deposit ratio has come very good, which is 83%. So that our total deposit growth is 28% year-on-year, and total amount is 77,336 crore. Total income growth has come 20% year-on-year, which is amount-wise at 2,648 crores. Operating profit has also grown 18% year-on-year, amount-wise 1,871. NII also has come on that 2,150 crores. Till the end of the previous quarter, no one anticipated the situation to get as bad as it did during quarter one with respect to COVID. However, a majority of our NPA customers are part and full paying, and we are confident that they will regularize once their business return to normal. Therefore, since the RBI allowed for us to restructuring some loans, we have done that since classified. Bank restructured loan in this quarter is 4,661 crores. Out of that, 4,100 crores is a EEB portfolio. Now, total restructured amount 5,275 crores. I have mentioned in here that is 84% of my restructured customers are paid in the last quarter. So that means they are showing they are very good customer for us, only need the time to come as a regularized. This COVID situation, staff are not able to go to customers to collect the installment from their doorsteps. Then also bank achieved pan-India collection efficiency of this quarter is 101%, including arrears. If I come to this, the 58% of my total portfolio as a EEB book, and which is that in that the demand of the last quarter was in a 13,720 crores, and our team have been collected. Amount is a 13,450 crores, which is including the arrears, has come to this the 98% collection efficiency. If we go to this, the collection efficiency without arrears, that is and the EEB is 86%, West Bengal 85%, and Assam is a 67%. Again, I have been mentioned on that. Those are NPA customers. 74% of the NPA customers are paid in the last quarter. So we feel that gradually it is improving and customer is coming to repay the installment, though it is in part and full, but they will become future and very soon will become as a normal. Bank always trying to strengthen the balance sheet, so that the provision also have been helped us to strengthening the balance sheet. So this quarter bank has in provision 1,375 crores, which is the total provision in the balance sheet is 3,983 crores. Accelerated provision on NPA 751 crores in this quarter. And with this provision, it has been helped us to increase our PCR 62% from the last quarter to 50%. We have not done any return of this quarter. Profit after tax has come 373 crores, which was in the last quarter 103 crores. Gross NPA have been reached in that 8.2%, and net NPA has come 3.29%. Credit cost is a 7.2%. NIM is improved, it is an 8.5%. Fee-based income as a percentage of the total income, 13.5%. Sorry. Cost to income ratio is a decline. It has come to this now 29.3%. Capital adequacy ratio, which is another indicator of the balance sheet strong, and which is now the 25%. Cost of fund 5.7%. In this quarter, bank has added 5 lakh new customers and 264 banking outlets opened in the last quarter. It has been helped us, our one strategy, to reach to this the more in the people who are underbanked and unbanked and rural and semi-urban areas. So our rural and semi-urban areas banking outlet now has been reached in the 73% of the total. There is no argument that if India's economic growth has to revive, and if we have to become a 5 trillion economy, then the welfare of rural economy has to be ensured. Yes, there may be short-term challenges due to COVID, but long-term, the growth story is intact, and we believe there will be exponential growth once the situation normalizes. This is what our experience of the last 2 decades, and having dealt with the challenges in the past, whatever we tell to you on that. A robust, well-capitalized balance sheet at the bank have been helped us within these challenges. We can be like to grow our business. This is an opportunity for Bandhan Bank. We know that we have the plan of that transformation. I would like to mention here that despite the focusing on managing short-term challenges, the bank is continue to make progress on its transformation agenda. Looking to create an asset portfolio that is well diversified and balanced between secured and unsecured, growing the commercial banking, which is SME lending, gold loan, personal loan, and auto loan businesses in the non-EEB space. We have been also hired very senior management team members to the bank to run this type of business. EEB group loan are graduate to individual loan. It is also our part of strategy to diversify the portfolio geographically and the product wise. In that sense, our group loan have been graduated to the individual loan very good way, which is now 12%, which was the 1 year before only 5%. So EEB portfolio share increased 43% from 39% in other states other than Bengal and Assam, which have been helped us to diversify the portfolio geographically. Bank focus is to continue rural, semi-urban, and different types of portfolio, which is the secured and unsecured. And also, we know that banks are transforming technologically. New technology partners we are incorporate in the treasury, digital banking, with the customer experience. Using the analytics of credit decision to ensure first services and high asset quality. We also introduced new plus digital savings account gathering space, and which helped the bank to future focusing on that, the transforming as a technology and a digital bank. I mean, just to give the two information in here, bank, and as per the last quarter, the 87% of the transaction happened in bank in a digital. We have the plan on that. By this year, it will be reached at par with the industry, 90% digital transaction in the bank. 11% of the customer opened account in the bank in the last quarter as digital. That have been also encouraged us how digitally successfully support to the customers to increase the number of transactions and also opening the new account in the bank. I hope that I have a very confidence on that. The future after this COVID situation will be like to grow as per our way and maintaining the good quality of the portfolio. Thank you to all of you. I hope you have some question, no doubt on that. Before that, we have already given that the one of the presentation, which in your hand on that, the investor presentation. So 2-3 pages will be like to clarify what we like to say in this, the presentation. I request my CFO, Mr. Sunil Samdani, will be like to give 5 minutes on the speech on that. And then we'll be go to this question answer.
Please, Sunil.
Thank you, sir, and good evening, everyone. I thought it will be a good opportunity to explain what we intend to say in terms of our business insights. So we've given 5-6 slides to explain the quality, strengths of our portfolio and franchise. I thought we'll explain. I'll take 5 minutes to explain you. Starting with slide number 5, what we are trying to tell you here is this deceleration in the EEB portfolio is largely on account of collections which we are able to do during the quarter. Almost 98% of our demand got satisfied, which means the collection efficiency, including arrears, for the EEB portfolio is 98%. Now coming to the slide number 6, right? What we are trying to say here is the restrictions which came on account of COVID-2 in our geographies, particularly in Bengal and northeastern states, came late vis-a-vis the other parts of the country. So when the restrictions were there in the April and May in the other part of the country, the restrictions actually got implemented in states like Assam and West Bengal due to elections only from mid-May onwards. So these restrictions continued till mid-July, as against the other states where it started early and ended by June. So as a result, our collection efficiency for the quarter continues to be healthy because for the first 45 days of the quarter, these states were working fine. So our collection efficiency, excluding NPA, was 86% for the first quarter in EEB vertical, 81% including NPA, and including arrears, it was 98%. Similarly, on the next slide, slide 7, the collection efficiency for the bank as a whole, we just discussed for the EEB vertical. Now for the bank as a whole, for the month of June, it was 84% excluding NPA and including NPA 80%. But if we look at for the quarter, the excluding NPA was 89% and including NPA was 85%. These are excluding arrears. If we include arrears, the total collection efficiency for all products across banks stands at 101%. And as we discussed earlier, as and when the restrictions get lifted, which we saw started doing it in the last 15 days, the collection efficiencies have also started improving, and we hope and we are confident of reaching it and crossing the average pan-India level. Now coming to slide number 8, what we are trying to show here is how is the payment behavior of our NPA customers, the restructuring that we have done on these customers, and how does this portfolio of NPA and restructuring look like. So out of my total NPA customers during the quarter, 74% of them paid either in part or in full. 26% of these customers did not pay. Of these 26% customers who did not pay, 34% of these 26% was contributed by Assam and 66% was for the rest of India. The reason we are excluding Assam and rest of India is because we all know that there is a separate resolution plan which is come up for the Assam, which we will discuss later. In terms of restructuring customers, firstly, why restructuring? Right? In the first wave, when the COVID first wave came, the RBI has announced the moratorium. This time during the second wave, the moratorium is not announced by RBI. Instead, they had given that option to individual banks to decide the form and shape of support that they want to give to their customers to tide over this difficult situation. Accordingly, what we have done is we have taken the form and shape of moratorium and given them restructuring. So restructuring essentially here means moratorium for us. Now, how have we considered these restructuring customers? These are largely part payment customers where we could not reach them due to restrictions or they could not reach us due to restrictions. So largely part payment customers and few BUs or the business units which were in those locations which were containment zones and were in the continuous lockdown for the full 3 months of the quarter. So that was the criteria to consider this, and within this restructured pool, 84% of the customers have paid us during the quarter. 16% of the customers did not pay. Now, who are these 16% of these customers? 41% of these 16% are from Assam and 59 are from rest of India. Here again, what is also important is to understand the situation in Assam in particular and in West Bengal and other eastern countries is, as we discussed earlier, the lockdown situation. Does it mean that these 41% of the restructuring customers are bad? The answer is no. Or 59% of rest of India is also bad? The answer is no. There have been restrictions in our core geographies which continued for a longer period of time, and hence part of this is because of those restrictions they are not able to pay. The next slide is on the SMA positions, which we have started giving from the last quarter. It's self-explanatory. I won't take time here. Now coming to the slide number 10. What we have tried to explain here is there is a scheme which is announced by the Assam government on supporting the Assam microfinance customers. Now, there are contours of these schemes which says which customers are eligible, which customers are not eligible. Now, based on that scheme, we have bifurcated our portfolio. So, out of the 63.5 billion portfolio that we have, 35.8 billion worth of portfolio qualifies under that scheme, and 27.7 billion worth of portfolio comes outside that scheme. Now let's understand why is this 27.7 billion customers are outside the scheme. Because there are 2-3 criteria which they have laid down to be eligible for the scheme. One and the largest part for us for being outside this scheme is disbursement made after 31st December 2020. So of these 27.7 billion, 18.5 billion worth of portfolio is here because of disbursement being made post December 2020. The other criteria is the overall exposure of the customer as per the Assam scheme should not be more than 1,25,000. While we are a universal bank and this limit is not applicable for us, but as a criteria laid down by Assam government to be eligible for this scheme, they have restricted the overall exposure from all lending institutions of a customer at 1,25,000. So 8.2 billion of these 27.7 are those customers where their exposure from Bandhan and other institutions put together is more than 1,25,000 rupees, and hence they are part of this 27.7. And third and the last criteria is where Bandhan is fourth or more lender to the customers. There for us is very small, less than 1 billion rupees. So sum of all this comes under these 27.7 billion customers. Now let's understand the payment pattern and the payment behavior of these 27.7 billion customers. 76% of them have paid in the month of June. That's the recent behavior of these customers. 24% of them have not paid in the month of June. Now here again, we are talking about Assam, and in the month of June, Assam had the strictest lockdown. It was one of the states which has the most strictest lockdown in the entire country. Right? Even the restaurants were not open for the entire day. Only in-house dining was allowed. That was the extent of lockdown in Assam. So when we say 24% of the customers did not pay in June, we have to consider that fact, the level of restriction in Assam in the month of June. So we don't consider these 24% to remain in the non-paying category going forward as well. Now, this 6.6 billion, which has not paid in the month of June, we are already carrying 8 billion provision for the portfolio of Assam. That's one point. The other point is the technical write-off that we have done over the quarters and years also is qualified portfolio for the purpose of resolution scheme of Assam government. So that book, and if money comes in that portfolio, that recovery from written off account, there is an additional opportunity of almost 8 billion there. This is over and above this 8 billion of provision and 35.8 billion of portfolio which is eligible in the scheme. So that's on the Assam portfolio and its analysis vis-a-vis the government scheme. Now we also want to update you on the restructuring that we did on the housing portfolio in Q4 of last year. We did restructuring of 6.2 billion in housing. Out of these 6.2 billion, the restructuring here again was in the form and shape of moratorium. So out of these 6.2 billion, 2.6 billion worth of portfolio is out of their moratorium is over and they are now regular customers, and the behavior of these customers who are out of restructuring or the moratorium is over, 96% of those have paid, and we are talking about, and 4% of them have not paid. So what we are saying here is, as and when the restructuring ends, the behavior of these customers are not very different from the non-restructured customers. Now coming to the last slide which I want to explain is slide number 12 on the Credit Guarantee Fund for micro units, which is called CGFMU. Now this is different from ECLGS, right? This is a scheme which is available 24/7 all throughout the year, irrespective of COVID or not. So this is a scheme set up by the central government through the CGTSME scheme, where the lender on payment of a premium, we can call it insurance premium loosely, can guarantee or cover their portfolio on the payment of premium. So banks have availed the CGFMU guarantee for our portfolio, not for the entire portfolio, but this portfolio, the guarantee which is eligible are only for the portfolio which are disbursed in the last financial year, FY 2021, and they are non-agri portfolio. So agri is not eligible and part of this. So what we are saying here is, out of my 222 billion worth of portfolio, which is outstanding and disbursed till March, 95 billion is covered under this scheme, which gives a coverage of 43%. Similarly for Assam, 62 billion worth of portfolio, which is disbursed till March 21, is outstanding today, and the coverage there is 28 billion, which is 45%. And for the rest of India, it is 10%. Now let me explain you in brief what is the scheme. As I explained, this scheme is a guarantee which the lenders can avail on payment of premium, which we have availed. The premium amount is 1% or 0.5% depending upon priority districts which they have defined. The scheme says first 3% of the loss of the pool which you are availing the guarantee should be borne by the lenders, and any loss above 3%, 75% of which will be borne by the guarantee provider, which is CGTSME, and 25% has to be borne by the lender, in our case, bank. So essentially, this is an additional protection that we have on our portfolio, which is over and above if I talk about the Assam scheme, if I talk about ECLGS, what we have availed, and the provisions that we have in our book. In addition to that, we have this guarantee cover, which will also help us recover our loan losses that we have incurred. And lastly, just to clarify, we have not done any ECLGS disbursement during the quarter, and our top-up loan disbursement for the quarter has been 0.5 billion for the quarter. So thank you very much. Thank you for your patient hearing. Happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Amit Nanavati from Nomura. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah. So, sir, firstly, if you can give breakup of what is 80 to 30 day past due portfolio for us, similar to what we'd given last time, that will be helpful.
Sorry, you want the breakup of?
80 to 30 day DPD, what was the mix between Assam, West Bengal and rest of India? We've given this last quarter.
So, at an overall level, it is about 8.5%. The breakup, I don't have it ready because we've given the SMA position today, given the restrictions that we have today. We thought this is more relevant.
So overall, it is 8.5%, which will be between 8 days to 30 days, right?
That should be 0 days. That includes 1 to 7 days as well. So I really don't have that number if we are not tracking.
Okay, got it. Secondly, if you can just explain the nature of restructuring that we've done in the EEB portfolio, and if it's moratorium, when do these come out of moratorium and starting to kind of make full payments?
So firstly, the fact that we've given them moratorium is to enable them in case they are not able to reach us or we are not able to reach them, this should help to looking at the environment. As I have already mentioned, 84% of the customers who have availed this restructuring are paid, right, in Q1. Now, how we have considered, we've mentioned that this is largely part payment customers and customers in the area which is containment zone, which were continuously under lockdown for the full 3 months.
Understood. Also, but if you can just quantify, so we've been highlighting, a large part of our NPA customers have also been paying or part paying at least. Now even restructured customers are paying or part paying. So, what was the demand raise and what is the actual collection in those buckets? If you can just highlight that. I just want to understand what's the quantum of recoveries that we are getting out of these food.
So I'll give you one number, which is on the movement of NPA, right?
Right.
My EEB pool, the slippages for the quarter was 1,036 crores, and the recoveries and upgrades is 510 crores. So 510 crores should give you an estimate on how these NPA collections and the upgrades have been happening.
Understood. Last thing, on the Assam bit, right? Basically, you highlighted roughly we have around 16 billion of provision plus write-off, which effectively can be recoverable through the government scheme. Is that understanding correct?
So what we are saying is our current outstanding for Assam portfolio is 63.5 billion. Of this, 35.8 billion worth of portfolio is eligible under the scheme. Now, depending whether they are zero DPD, they will get 25,000 upfront. If they are overdue customers, they will first get the overdue amount, and once they continue to pay, they will get additional 25,000 amount. And the customers who are NPA, if the government declare them as dispute, they will get the entire benefit without them. Otherwise also they will get, but their credit rating will get impacted.
Understood. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shagun Verma from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Sunil. This is Rahul here. Just wanted to repeat these moment of slippages. You said 1,000 crores, 1,040 crores the addition, and 510 crores is operation recoveries, and then rest is, it doesn't add up. Can you just repeat these numbers?
No, we are talking about the EEB vertical only. Because the question specifically was for EEB vertical. If you want to look at these numbers at a pan bank level, all verticals, the slippages were 1682, the upgrades and recoveries was 999.
And any write-offs during the quarter?
No write-offs for the quarter.
And the differential between EEB and 1682 crore is what? Mortgages or?
The housing book which went into NPA and got upgraded.
Okay. Got it. The second question is coming to slide 12 on this credit guarantee. So this guarantee is eligible for the 143 billion rupees worth of pool. So what is the NPL out of this pool that you currently have, which would be eligible for reimbursement?
So this guarantee will be available after the end of this financial year. So I have taken this for FY21. The scheme is for 2 years. So once FY22 gets over, I see what is my level of NPA. Then I will be in a position to decide what is my NPA levels here. Today's position may not be relevant.
No, I'm just trying to understand of this 143 billion. Let's say the NPLs are about 10%, hypothetically speaking. So of the remaining 7%, you will get 75% from the Government of India. Is that a right understanding?
Yes.
And this will be available to you next year, is it?
Yes. By the end of this financial year, whatever is the position, they will accordingly pay.
Okay. Understood. So at this point of time, 143 billion is standard portfolio in the books, is what you're saying.
No, this could be NPA as well. I'm saying these are the portfolio. So this is the total portfolio where I've availed the guarantee.
Understood. What I'm trying to get to is of the total stress that we have currently, what is covered by this credit guarantee scheme? The total stress restructuring.
In your example, if 10% is the NPA level of these 143, 3% I have to bear, 7%, 25% of these 7% I will have to bear additionally, 7% they will take in. So in all, about 5 to 5.5% is my loss if the NPA is 10%. So roughly my NPA in an example of 10% NPL becomes half.
Okay. And this would be, can it be mirrored on the current pool of NPLs and restructuring, particularly NPLs, which is 64.4 billion?
Can be, because any which way, my 85% almost of the portfolio outstanding today is out of the disbursement made in previous financial year.
Yeah.
So where Assam and Bengal is covered excluding agri portfolio, because agri is not allowed to cover under the scheme.
Okay. And how much is agri? 50%?
About agri would be about 35 to 40%, because agri allied again is allowed here.
Okay. Got it. Okay. The other question I had was on the SME portfolio, which is, I think, total comes to about 22.5%. Does this include the restructured portfolio also?
No, the restructured pool will not be part of the SMA here.
Okay, so restructure goes in the 77%, which is current portfolio.
Yes.
Understood. Got it. Just one last question, and then a sort of a big picture question on the Assam business, and maybe to Mr. Ghosh as well. Now this waiver has happened. Clearly, the credit practices, in some categories would take a knock, right? So when we think about the growth prospects in the state over the next couple of years, and given that this political affair is every 5 years, how do you think about the business prospect in the state of Assam? Would you continue to be involved in the microfinance business out there the same way you've been, or you would calibrate your portfolio and take into account the political episodes as well? How are you thinking about it?
So see, the way we look at it today, right? This has happened after 20 years in Assam, right? On our being there, working there in Assam. So to assume that this will happen every 5 years, we don't know. How much of that will be relevant today, right? Having said that, clearly, whether Assam or any other state, right, it's the position and the situation in the ground which defines business, right? So if the credit culture is there, if the environment is benign, we will do business. But if we see, like if you look at the current quarter, the disbursement is almost not there in Assam, right? Because there was restrictions, because there was the confusion about what is eligible, what is not eligible, even the customers were not clear. So we were hesitant in doing business there. So if there is clarity, if there is environment, we may again start.
I can give an add on that point. If you see that this is a political issue always is there in the microcredit. If you go to the AP, there is in 2010, and now AP portfolio is a 99% collection, even the time of this crisis. So it has been over because customer understand about it, that will be not helped them. If you come to this in 2017 in a UP, that is also happened in drastically on that. After that, now UP is better than Assam and very good portfolio. So in that sense, if you see that when this type of incident happened on that as a politically, so after that, that state has become very good because customer understand. If you see that the declaration of the government, all our people are not getting benefit. So that they understand about it, what's happening. If you go to the Bangladesh, which is the very good in the sense of that the birthplace of microcredit. If you see, their top of the government have been openly declared about it multiple times. They are not like it. And after that also they are growing. Because this will depend on customer demand. When the customer understands from this type of incident, that will be not really help them. So that will be help in the future business growth will be very good and quality of the portfolio also has come very good. And of course, there is a lender point of view, they will be like to very cautiously select the customer, assess the customer need. There is in very next 2 to 3 years will be like to happen. After that, it will become as a normal on that. I'm not feeling that that is not in a good state for lending in this. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir. We move to the next question from the line of Kunal Shah from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for such a detailed presentation and clarifying most of the aspects. Firstly, in terms of if you can just give within this paying customers parts payment and full payment, okay, because last time I think there was a disclosure out there in terms of how that is behaving, and particularly maybe within this paying also less than 25% kind of a paying wherein there could be a more risk. So if you can broadly just spell that out in terms of the NP and the restructured full paying category. Yeah.
See, the broad idea, right, we'll try and share whatever we can, but the idea of giving this presentation and this slide was to show that despite being the strictest lockdown in the prime geography, in the main geographies of ours, right, we have seen the intention of the customer is to come and pay, right? So one thing which is very clear from this is the intention of the customer. There absolutely we have no doubt whatsoever on our customer. The question is only about the ability due to the environment, or whether because of the environment, how comfortably they have been able to do their business. Right? That defines the part or the non-payment or the full payment customer. So that was the idea to mention here. Right? We have seen even in last time that part payment customer necessarily did not mean that this will become NPA. Right? What we envisaged in Q1 of last financial year and how we ended in Q4 of last financial year clearly shown that ultimately these part payment customers come back and repay their loan. They take extra time. At least the intention part is very clear. Now coming to your specific question on what is the payment pattern of these paying customers of the restructured or the NPA book. Of these paying customers of NPA, 8% made full payment and 66% paid part payment.
Okay.
Similarly, on the restructured book, about 4%, because let's understand, restructuring we had done considering only those customers who were part paying customers and customers who were in the geography where it was in continuous lockdown or containment area. So with that background, the full paying customers in restructured book is 4% and partial paying customers is 80%.
Okay. And fair to assume that within this part payment, like last time, significant chunk would be less than 50% because last time also 2/3 of that was say less than 50, and now maybe situation would have further got worsened because of second wave. So then even within the part payment, like significant part would be say less than 50 or less than 25.
So my one point on that, you will be first we can be like to analyze the situation of the country and the area. When the last time we have been seeing that there is no lockdown, and that time people are coming back and to coming as a normal on that. But suddenly, whatever happened in April, May, June, this is very much given that the people have been scared about it, but they have not expected on that. And within that situation, and within this, the lockdown period till now continue in the many of the places. And that time also, customer is coming to paying even partial also. I hope that is a very good showing the future that they will be come back when the situation will be like to over. Lockdown will be not happened, and this customer will be paid in a normal full installment of that.
And just to add, it is much higher than 25%, closer to 2 installments.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Got it. One second clarification. If we look at this Assam, so when we look at NPA and restructure, and you have carved out how much is into Assam. So if we calculate, almost like say 1.3% of the book is the non-paying in Assam, okay, which is almost 700 odd crores. And in that slide of Assam portfolio analysis, in fact, out of 6,300, 2,800, and that includes 660 odd crores of non-paying. So when I look at 3,500 crores, which is eligible, okay, there hardly 400 odd crores is not paying, and 3,100 seems to be entirely paying. Is that right, or maybe just something?
Yes. It's a scheme as per Assam government, right?
Yeah.
So it's nothing to do with this paying and non-paying. And Assam government scheme essentially is applicable to all.
Yeah, no, but that seems to be slightly on a higher side in terms of the paying customers, given the pool which is there in Assam, which is stressed. So I'll take these numbers offline, but that seems to be slightly on a, maybe the paying customers seems to be more concentrated on the eligible part of the portfolio.
So clearly, because zero DPD customers straight away get 25,000.
Okay. Okay. So that would be included in paying.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And second, in terms of this restructuring, what we are doing, what is the interest income effect on that? So because I think yields are again back to 8.5 odd %, sorry, NIM. So is it like any kind of income derecognition or something which has happened, or maybe that will come over a period only once the moratorium and everything is done?
No. So two things here. We
So
can't
it's a regular as of now.
We can't compare quarter-on-quarter NIMs, right? Because last Q4 of last year, right, we had a big reversal on recognition of NPA as well as interest on interest, right? Which is not there. You know, last quarter we recognized NPA after a gap of 12 months. So that is not there in this quarter. So this is, more or less sustainable NIM, which we had mentioned even last time in Q4, that but for these reversals, our NIMs would be closer to 8.5%.
Yeah, so we are almost getting back. Maybe, in fact, excluding last year also, average was 8 and we are getting towards 8.5. And there is no one-off in this.
No one-off. Our cost of funds have come down.
Yeah, cost of funds have come down. Okay. Yeah,
further, we've reduced saving bank rate and term deposit rate starting July. So we don't see a challenge in maintaining this.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kochar Gaurav from Mirae Asset. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening, sir. A few questions from my side. Was there any sort of average moratorium that was given to restructuring customers? I think you mentioned some moratorium was given, but what would be the average moratorium for these customers?
So here, for the EEB customers, we have given moratorium till 31st March 2022. The reason being, ideally 3 months moratorium should have been enough for the EEB customers. But we all know that there is an uncertainty of third wave, right? If and when will it come? And as per the restructuring guidelines of RBI, accounts once restructured cannot be further restructured. So keeping that in mind, we thought we'll do it. But having said that, we are not stopping our collections. We are encouraging customers to continue to pay, and that is what we are seeing in the payment pattern of our customers as well.
Right. Sure, sure. And then any color on, this restructured book? Is it, vintage customers with more than 3 cycles whom you have given restructuring, or any sort of filtering that you would have done at your end to choose which customer to restructure, which ones to not? Any color that you can give?
So clearly that may, according to our analysis, that, the more relevant piece was part-paying customers and the customers in geographies which were in continuous lockdown, right? So,
okay.
And even when you look at the payment behavior, right, it is not very different today for a 4-year vintage customer or a 2-year vintage customer, because it is not a credit evaluation issue, it's an environmental issue, it's a lockdown issue.
Right.
So that's why we've gone through this way.
Sure. That's right. And sir, on the SMA 1, I can see that number has jumped to around 10% in June. Could you just give an update on July as to what was the flow through from SMA 1 to SMA 2, since the 31 to 60 bucket would have gone to 61 to 90? So what is the degree of flow through that you are seeing in that book? Some color around that.
I would suggest you wait till the next earnings call, you will have that.
Okay. But is it significant, the flow through, or it's in line with our historical experience? Just wanted some color, is it better off, worse off now that the lockdowns have opened up after mid-July, as you mentioned? Has that improved?
So but only one point we can mention here. So from June to July, collection efficiency has been improved day by day.
Okay.
And
okay, sure. And
collections, right? The decrease position.
Sure. And sir, if I look at the buffer provisioning, so apart from 3 billion of standard asset provisioning, we don't have any COVID-related buffer, right? Is that correct?
We have restructured provisioning. We have paid 1% to CGFMU to get that guarantee. We have ECLGS. So see, I'll tell you on the provisioning aspect, right? We consider all of this to evaluate what is the right level of provisioning. Having said that, as we mentioned last quarter, that principally as management we have decided that we will continue to keep buffering our balance sheet with excess provisioning, right? Irrespective of COVID or no COVID. COVID has given us the opportunity to do that. We will take that opportunity and buffer our balance sheet. Tomorrow, if COVID is not there, does not mean I will utilize this provisioning. This will remain in my balance sheet. My pre-provisioning returns, my pre-provisioning profit to loans is 9.3%, right? And that's something that we have decided that part of this should be utilized to strengthen the balance sheet and should remain always in the balance sheet.
Sure, sir. And interest reversals for this quarter, have you taken any interest reversal?
Yes, to the extent that we have classified NPA, interest reversals have happened.
Okay. Do you have the amount handy as to what was the interest reversals for this quarter? Or we can take it offline.
Number handy.
Okay, sure, sir. Just last question, of the 35.8 billion of the eligible loans in Assam, are those classified as standard, or within them you have restructured some accounts? There would be certain accounts which are restructured within that 35.8 billion.
No, see, this will be a mix of all, standard, restructured, including NPA as well. Because what is this is the eligible. What it does not include is the written off portfolio, which over and above this is eligible for repayment. So when that repayment comes, that will be an additional recovery of Assam pool through that scheme.
Sure.
So our written off portfolio, which is eligible under this scheme, is close to 8 billion, which is not part of this. So that, if that comes in, will be an additional flow.
Sure. Sure. And this entire 35.8 billion portfolio is entirely reimbursable, right? Or there is some caveat within this?
Eligible. This is eligible, right? And now, as and when the government frames the scheme, and basis that scheme, the process document, we will have to see what is the role of the customer, what is the role of the lender, and accordingly go by that.
Okay. Got it. And sir, just on the restructured book, the income recognition is happening, I mean, the interest recognition, is it happening on approval basis or as and when you receive the amount, just you're counting that?
84% of them are already paying. So how is it that I can't recognize
the interest? Sure. So is it happening on cash basis or on approval basis?
Has to be approval. It has to be approval.
Okay. Got it, sir. Thank you so much. That's all from my side. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Saurabh from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Sir, two things. One is, now that political interference is over in Assam, by, let's say, Puja, where do you think the collection efficiency goes, as for the portfolio overall? I mean, you used to guide to these numbers last year when COVID one was going on. I was just wondering what your view today is.
No, what we saw that this is the time of COVID and the businesses are affected and people cannot movement to one to the other area. And this time also we see that the COVID is affected to the rural and semi-urban area. After that also collection has come this much, which is showing that very good improvement will come when this lockdown and the situation will become to normal.
So, I mean, if we go to last year, like between June to September, you went from something like, 70 to 90. Given that now the lockdowns are over and, assuming we don't get a back third wave and the political interference is over, would you expect something similar or will that be too optimistic?
No, it will be improved a good way on that because, this is also sometimes a link to the business. No, now if you see that the business, no one like to start the new business or their old business cannot be like to expand. This is not the right time. And the small and medium, all type of business owner are like to thinking in that way. So normally in our country and the business actually they are doing very good when then Puja or Dashora will come on that, which is the second quarter in September and onward. But today every people are thinking about and lots of newspapers are writing about the third wave is coming August, September. So prediction on that, it will be like to big challenge now to say on that. But other side, whatever the July, I have been seeing that the people are coming back and gradually they're repaying that. That will be like to given very good comfort on that. And if the third wave will not come, so very quick it can be like to recover on this.
Yes, sir. And Sunil, one question, what percentage of this EEB book would have been generated over last 1 year?
Almost 82 to 85%.
82 to 85% will be last 1 year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. One additional question. Sorry. Of this housing restructuring, what is the percentage from the, is it your individual loans or is it lab book mix?
So these are largely individual. Suresh is here. Suresh, you are there?
Yes. Good evening. Yeah, it's a mix of both LAP and this are there, but it's mainly predominantly, housing loans only, predominantly.
Okay. Predominantly, Suresh, will mean like 75-80% or?
Yes, 75-80%. That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shreya Shivani from CLSA. Please go ahead.
This is Adarsh. The question, Sunil, was on, during periods where collection staff cannot go to the field, you can for a EMI holiday. Does all EMI holiday customers get classified under the restructured book, or that's a separate pool? Like I took a EMI holiday for a month, or you offered one for, let's say, 4 weeks or 6 weeks, but I didn't need a longer term restructuring. So is that part of the restructured book or not?
So two things here, right? When we say EMI holiday, and when we show collection efficiency, we consider all customers, including the EMI holiday customers, right? That's point number one. Point number two, EMI holiday is not something which is rule-based. It is dependent on the field situation for that period, right? We get requests from the team on the ground saying that today there is a containment area decided in our area, we cannot go and collect, right? So we have to mark that as an EMI holiday. So that could be for 1 day, could be for 6 days, could be for 7 days, right? So it is not something which is rule-based. Secondly, EMI holiday, 95% does not impact my DPD position. Because the customers who are already overdue, their DPD will keep moving, irrespective whether I give EMI holiday or not, for that particular installment. So EMI holiday, the point I'm trying to make is, as far as collection efficiency goes that we disclose, we consider all customers, and as far as my DPD or SMA position goes, it has very little impact on my DPD and SMA position, negligible impact.
Got it. That's useful. Second question is on Assam. You did give a number that the provision is about 800 crore and write-off pool which is eligible for government scheme is 8 billion. So you actually have 1,600 crore of money. And so it should cover up for any of the risk, or eventually, let's say in 12 months, you would expect net Assam book after the government scheme is fully implemented, you could have a fall through of money from that. Basically, you could have write backs from that, given that that pool now is 1,600 crore of provision sitting out there.
So, if things go the way it has been planned, which we sincerely believe it should, then you are right. There will be a provision, there will be a situation of write back.
Got it. And third question is and last question is on West Bengal. Obviously, it's a very larger book. And the situation, post wave 1 was collection lagged. The hit that you are seeing now on collections after wave 2 is being quite severe. So just wanted to understand, we made a point that economically it's been more difficult for that geography to come back, but it's a very large, it's almost more closer to Assam kind of collections than rest of India, right, which was politically challenged in that sense. So how do you look at risk from West Bengal? Because overdue numbers are very high in that portfolio.
No, I would slightly differ that it's more closer to Assam. Because if you look at the collection efficiency of Q1, at 85% West Bengal and national average of 86%, and rest of India of 90% is closer to the rest of India than Assam, which is 67, right? And I keep explaining and I keep mentioning that the timing of lockdown for West Bengal and northeastern states is different than western, northern and southern states. So that's why one has to look at the full quarter, right? Because there was a time when West Bengal and Assam was working and rest of the country was in lockdown, right? Which is the April month.
Yeah.
And that is why we have put the Q1 collection efficiency to give you a holistic picture that where situation stands. So I would rather believe that West Bengal is closer to national average and not Assam.
Got it. And so the last question, if I can press it in, is what's your learning from how you want to do the business post the Assam episode, right? Because clearly it looks like vast pockets of that state was over-leveraged. Obviously, the issues got complicated because political promises got made, but it is also over-leveraging in a lot of pockets. So it's kind of bailout for the MFI industry also per se in that state by the government. So what's the takeaway and how you see what happened in Assam to stop that from, say, happening in a West Bengal or any other state we operate in?
If you see that I have been mentioned earlier, I have given some of the country state where this problem happened and then returned back the customer.
Yeah.
If you see that now when the government declared about it and government mentioned Chief Minister said that you paid, otherwise your credit bureau record will become to damage and future you will not get any loan from any of the bank or financial institution. So he requested to all the public on that and the citizen, you pay to the lenders on that. This appeal is a very big way he has been given on that. That is the learning for the customer level and also learning from the government level and also the lenders level. That not means tomorrow I will be started the lending to those areas more. Will be observed, we'll see that and the situation will be like to feel that is a go. That time will be decide on that.
Got it. You will take it off.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Agarwal from Motilal Oswal Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Hope you and all your staff members are keeping safe in these times. Few questions like, firstly, if you can talk about how the credit culture in Assam has been after the announcement of this package. Do you think that there is a risk of paying customers also becoming non-paying in the remaining portfolio which is not eligible under the government package? And also if you can talk about how long this implementation of package will take.
One point on that, when we see that there is a long case have been increased in Assam, it will be late. After the May, it has been started in June. And that time also government declared that is their scheme, they will be provided this funding to the customer. And after that, when they declared, and lots of customers they call back to us and asking on that what is their balance amount and when will be like to go to them to collect from that. That queries have been started is a very big way. I hope that is impacted to the culture of the repayment and also the credit. But we cannot go in there because of the corona issue so much big. And also we find out on that we are fully locked down means even not a restaurant also open. And who are travel to Assam, they are staying in the hotel. But other than hotel, restaurant also not open. And restaurant people are coming to provide the food in the room. So very restricted and very hard way they are maintaining on that. So that reason it is not customer is coming out or we can be reached to the customer to collect on that. So this is the overall situation on that. Otherwise the repayment queries have been started very good way on that. That can be helped us from that future when the lockdown will be open and the COVID situation will become a little bit better. So collection also like to improve on that.
Okay. And sir, the second part on how long the implementation of this package will take?
The exact timelines is still not clear. As and when it's clear, we will update. We'll have to get that clarity from the government.
Okay. And Sunil, the other question is on the growth, like what sort of growth we are now looking at. Implementation of this package will likely result in further rundown of the portfolio. So what sort of growth like are we targeting for the year, and any guidance on credit costs if you can share, because last year we had a 5% credit cost guidance. So anything indicative that you can share for FY22?
If you see that the GDP growth has been declared by today the government is at 10% will be reached in this year, that is a hope on that the economy will be revived and the people will be returned back to the business, and our bank also coming back to their growth, our growth of the business.
See, growth for the segment in which we work is never an issue. It's the environment which defines the growth, right? You look at my active borrowers in microfinance, that has come down, which means the customer has repaid their loan and I have not given fresh money, right? Because I want situation on the ground to improve. I want them to do full 7 days of work, because that's the only way they can repay these installments. So the demand is immense, the opportunity is immense. As the environment improves, the growth will also come back. Now, I don't want to put a number to it, but clearly we've seen that over the last so many years, that growth in this business should never be a problem if the environment is okay.
Okay. And on credit costs, any color on that?
No, we don't want to guide a number on the credit cost, but as I said, we will continue to provide. We will continue to take provisions to strengthen our balance sheet. Some will remain as additional standard asset provisioning in our balance sheet for future to strengthen our balance sheet. But, one thing we'll tell you is the provisioning we will continue to provide. Not all of them is required as for credit cost. These could be standard assets. This can remain as contingent provision when COVID is over next year.
Okay. And one small data point, like given that we deal with a large number of borrowers, higher than most other banks, what has been the number of casualties that you have seen among the borrowers?
So the number that we have, to the best of our information, is about 4,000 borrowers who, sir, if you can correct me, number of borrowers died on account of COVID?
5,000 the borrowers have been died in the COVID, but maximum has 5,471 borrowers have been died, and large amount is in second wave, and 1,500 in Madhya Pradesh.
Okay, sir. And sorry if I can squeeze in one last question. On slide 8, like we talk about 74% of NPA customers are paying. So just wanted to understand, like usually how much this proportion is. How many customers typically are paying of the NPAs?
So last quarter we reported this number when it was 78%. And last quarter was the best quarter, right? In the last 18 months or so, Q4 of FY21 was the best quarter.
Yeah. And versus otherwise, like pre-COVID, how much it used to be?
Pre-COVID, it's a good question, but I don't have that number often, because this we started tracking only after the COVID environment. Because our NPAs were anyway less than 1% pre-COVID environment.
Right. Okay, sure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Karthik Chellappa from Bruna Vista Fund Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, sir. Two questions. First one is on slide 12. So for Assam, if 28 billion of the portfolio is under the credit guarantee fund scheme, how much of this would overlap with the 35.8 billion which also becomes eligible under the government resolution?
Karthik, that analysis we'll have to do. But clearly there will be an overlap, right? Because those two are different criteria. One is as per government scheme, one is as per the CGFMU that we have taken. So there will be an overlap between paying between eligible and non-eligible. Both the parts will be here. So essentially what we are saying is the entire disbursement of West Bengal and Assam of previous year for non-agri customers, is covered. And typically 82% to 85% of my current outstanding is last year's disbursement.
So the fact that they become eligible under one scheme does not disallow them from participating in another scheme, right? So if it's under Assam scheme, if they are already getting another benefit of this thing, they will still be eligible, right?
Yes, but I can't claim more than 100 rupees if 100 is outstanding.
Oh yeah, okay, that is for sure. Okay, but we just don't know the level of overlap. Okay, that is fine. If I look at the total NPA under the micro loans, which is let's say about 49 to 50 billion or so, what is the amount of provision that we are carrying against that as of now, as of this quarter?
About 32.5. See, there are two ways to look at it. Right? The total provision in my book, the total provision in my book is 4,835, right? If I exclude standard asset provisioning, which is required as per regulation. So it is 4,835. This includes NPA, this includes additional standard assets, this includes restructuring, all put together. Now this 4,835, if I compare it with my microfinance portfolio, it's about 9.1%. Now I agree with you, not all of this is for microfinance. This is for all verticals put together, but I'm just telling you one way to look at the provisioning that I'm carrying in my book. The other businesses are all secured business. And historically the LGDs in those businesses has never been more than 0.25, 0.3%.
So to look at it in another way, against an overall coverage ratio of 62%, for the micro book alone, this ratio would be somewhere close to 64 to 65.
And if I consider additional standard asset and all, then this will be close to 75.
Okay, close to 75. Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you very much and wish you and the team all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anand Dama from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Sir, is there a restructuring pipeline that we have in mind?
Now, Anand, it's a good question, but we clearly don't have the answer to it today because that depends on how the restrictions get lifted in the geographies where we work. And if things are normal, then the restructuring would be lower, and we hope that will be the case, right? That's our base case scenario. So clearly today I can't put a number.
Because if you look at the SMA1 number and even SMA2 for that matter, do it is flat. But SMA1 number means basically that it is somewhere in the range of about 30-60 DPD of it. And the situation is improving certainly, but you will still take some time to recover these loans. You will have to reach to the customers, the customers will have to reach you. They will also be ramping up their business. So will it be fair enough to assume that roughly about 50% of the SMA1 book could be eligible for restructuring, because many of these customers are paying partly, and that is the reason they are still into the SMA1 bucket.
Anand, yes, you are right. They will be eligible. But, I'm again repeating that way to look at our business is different than historically we have looked at restructuring over last 20, 50, 100 years, right? Restructuring here means appreciating the situation on the ground. We are not able to go and collect. So large part of the customers who have not paid could be from our side also, because we have not been able to reach them. Right? And that is why one has to look at this restructuring a little different than the traditional restructuring we've seen in the banking industry. Now, where in the banking industry, without write-off and without selling the portion to ARC, we get 50% of the slippage as recovery. Right? These are all part payment customers. That's the nature of this business. Right? These customers pay to the ability that they can, or and let's say in a 4 installment, they are able to somehow contact us for 2 and not for 2. And that's how they are part payment customers. And that's why we have to appreciate that situation and do that restructuring. Right? So, to your point, looking restructuring and assuming that this is risk may not be. We've tried and explained in our slides that may not be the right way to look at. We have seen last, performance of the last financial year. We've seen performance of our housing pool which has gone out of restructuring, how they have performed. So clearly there is a merit in what we've been saying over quarter on quarter, that part payment customers is only a timing difference, and for technical reasons they become NPA. Unnecessarily their ability to raise further money also gets impacted, and it puts us also as a lender in a difficult situation because we are also not being able to fulfill our obligation to do those step collections. So restructuring, to cut it short, I don't want to put a number to it, but the thought behind restructuring is appreciating this situation and not to cover the NPA.
Sure. So, I agree basically, there is so much of uncertainty, but by way of higher provisioning, so I think you have somewhere about 10% provisioning on the restructured pool. So would you want to make higher provisioning, particularly on the restructured portfolio till the time situation normalizes? Any thoughts over there? And what could be the relapse rate basically, in the restructured pool based on your assessment?
Now, Anand, 2-3 things again here. 84% of the restructuring customers are paying, right?
Yeah.
We've already shared that it's 4,835 crores of provisions in my book. This is for all products put together. This provision is equivalent to 9.1% of the microfinance book. We also have guarantee cover. We have Assam resolution coming up. We have multiple levers, right? And we are also guiding. On top of this, we will continue to provide. Right? We will continue to provide. We are not saying that we want to go slow on provisioning because we want to build that buffer. And things hopefully will only improve from here. That's our base case scenario. So with all that in mind, I don't know how to put that number on the restructuring pool.
And any update on micro insurance basically that you would have on the pool basically which is sitting into NPA or restructured pool?
Sorry, I didn't get that question. Could you please repeat?
So we would also have a micro insurance, right, which you would have taken from the insurance companies as such basically on the pool. Apart from the credit guarantee that you would have?
That is only on death.
Yeah, so I think about 5,471 borrowers have died, right? So there you will get some money from the insurance company.
Yes.
Any amount you can quantify over there?
No. If you can be about
it is not material enough.
So average my outstanding is 39,000. That will be the closest.
Sure. And last thing, what is the portfolio in UP? Portfolio size in UP? Can you help with that?
Portfolio size in UP.
Yeah.
₹4,170 crores.
Okay. Do you see a risk of something similar happening in UP state as well when there are elections, the way we have seen in case of Assam?
Now, it's like a crystal ball gazing, but I'll tell you, we had elections in Assam and Bengal together.
Yeah.
Close neighbors. Similar language. Same time election. But it didn't come here. So I don't think it is fair to assume that if it's happening in one state, it should happen in all states where election is happening.
Yeah, but I think political parties certainly were different. The ruling parties are different.
If you see that at the last election, 2017, they have been declared, but after that, this type of customer will not get that benefit. and they are very much unhappy on that. So this time, after that, they recovered it on that. So when the next time any this type of situation has come, customer are not trust on that. But I am not seeing that this situation is coming again in that state.
See, what happened in Assam, both ruling as well as opposition announced the same thing. Right? So that can happen irrespective of whatever is the ruling party. The ruling party clearly is not the criteria.
Okay. Sure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prakhar Agarwal from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so just three questions from my side. First, so there is a couple of guys here, couple of players who operate out of Assam, and they said that cutoff date for Assam is 31st March and not 31st December. Some clarity over here. Why is this a disconnect?
Cutoff date is 31st March, but the only place where we have taken 31st December is disbursement beyond 31st December for that ineligibility period. Right? That is what our understanding is, that disbursement date after 31st December is not eligible. If you are saying that is 31st March, then in my eligible pool will only go up.
Sure, got it. Secondly, on this restructured book that we have, do we change the stage of that restructured asset when we restructure, or we don't change the stage when we restructure? We keep it as SMA 1 or 2, whatever account it is, in the same stage, or do we make it standard and is not reflected in any of the buckets?
So this is a moratorium, right? What is this restructuring? This restructuring is in a way we have given moratorium. So the same treatment applies what applied for moratorium when it was there last year.
Okay, so there is no overlap as per the system.
No.
Okay. Just one more question in terms of guarantee scheme that we have spoken about. Is there any upper cap as well which is there in place for this guarantee scheme? Because what I've been finding through is that there is a 15% cap on the overall payouts by the other party as well. So while we have the 75% that we have been talking about, there is also 15% cap on the outstanding amount which is there.
I will check that. I will get it confirmed to you. I'm not aware, but if that is what you read it, I will check. But in any case, 15% is also a big number. It should not impact the overall calculations.
No, but I just wanted to check if there is some clarity.
I'll check that. If you pointed that out, I will again check that.
Just one last question on this micro banking customer the account for balances. If you look at quarter-on-quarter, there has been lot of decline in there. What explains this sort of decline in there?
This is a two cause in here. One cause is there because we are not able to go to the field to collect the money. Automatically, people are not able to deposit their savings account of this money. Second point on that is type of when the challenges come, people will like to keep some money in the cash in their hand, not to deposit in the bank. So both these happened in our microcredit level, so that their savings balance has been come down.
So could there be a possibility when this sort of balances decline could be attributable to the payments that we have been receiving from those customers, because income impact would have been very high? So if at all this sort of situation continues, then given the fact that there is not much in account balance as well, the part payment terms will obviously come down over a period of time if there is no income reversal that happens through.
Let's understand what is the collection we do in a month, right? It is upwards of 5,000 crores, right? And my total saving bank balance of these customers is less than 3,000 crores. So it is not that, if that was the case, then these saving banks should have been zero, long back. Right? So it's clearly the ability of the customer to come to the branch and deposit the money. Right? And that is one reason, and they are holding cash. For this one reason and for the emergencies that they envisage in these environments.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. That is it from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of MB Mahesh from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Sunil, just a couple of questions here. On the guarantee scheme that was there. Just wanted to understand why do you think that the RBI or the scheme would also follow a similar situation where the up to 125,000 rupees or the number of borrowers, that limits also would be in place in this particular scheme as well?
No. This scheme is applicable up to 25 crores.
This scheme is applicable to what?
Up to 25 crores exposure.
Okay, so none of the normal MFI rules does not apply here. And according to you, why is this scheme a better one as compared to ECLGS?
No, I'm not saying this is better or not better. I'm saying this is an additional option available to us. Right? Because here what we are saying is, irrespective whether the customer is good or bad, we want to protect, we want to take an insurance. Right? ECLGS largely is given to stressed customers.
In terms of this commission, you can charge it to the customer or you take it in your P&L out here?
Today I'm taking it in my P&L.
Okay. And the reason why you didn't do it for the entire loans which was disbursed last year would be? Because you did it for about 140 billion. And last year the disbursement was somewhere about 550 odd billion.
See, agri book is anyway not allowed, right? And
okay.
We chose a geography where we saw that one, our exposure is high, and two, are facing certain challenges.
Okay, so it's okay, perfect. And just one clarification, one on the restructured loans that you have, is it possible for you to split that book between West Bengal and Assam?
So we have split Assam there.
West Bengal?
West Bengal, I think, should not be very different from the national average. Yes, if I have the number ready, I'll tell you.
Perfect. Okay, if you can give me while you're getting this answer. I just had a question for Suresh. So the housing loan book, if you could just give us some color on how is that the early buckets looking like?
Yeah, good evening. So basically the housing pool, the collection has been improving on an improving trend. And if you look at the overdue position as of June compared to March, there is a slight improvement actually. It was, if you look at the regular customers who are in 0-day DPD as well as the SMA 0 who are in less than 30-day bucket, then you will see that there is from about 93.06, it has gone up to 93.20. So actually there is a slight improvement in the overall ratio of the customers who are in the regular plus SMA 0 kind of a thing. And so that is the kind of in terms of the collection. The second thing that I would like to say is about the slide which already we have discussed enough actually, that about 3,126 customers who had availed the restructuring in the first phase have actually completed the restructuring tenure, and after the end of the restructuring tenure also 95% of those customers are paying, and therefore so the repayment track has been pretty good in that. So that gives us a lot of confidence that the collections have improved. So what on the ground we see is that post-COVID, which started in March last year, what has happened is even where customers have lost their jobs or have lost their businesses, they have found out, a lot of them have found out alternate ways of, restarting their business or restarting their cash flows. So that has helped. So there, a lot of people would have been in some sort of business but have moved to some other business just to keep their livelihood on, and that has also helped. So the repayments have been improving, and July also, I mean, the way it has been going, if no other, wave 3 or something comes, I think the collections will be much better. In fact, for the first time, the third point that I would like to say is for the first time since March 2020, we've had the NACH bounce ratio coming back to the pre-COVID level. So it used to be below 10% and it had gone up to almost close to 15% at a point in time, and it has for the first time in June come to below 10% again.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for this. Thanks a lot. Sunil, that question on West Bengal, I'm sorry, I don't think so. I saw Assam's restructured book. I don't know if I missed it.
Yes, so 41% of the total restructure is Assam, 36% is West Bengal.
41 and 36. Okay, thanks a lot.
No, that is non-paying customer. Sorry. Mahesh. Sorry. 36% of the restructured book is Assam and West Bengal, and Assam is 22%.
22. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraint, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sunil Samdani, CFO, for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patient and long hearing. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Bandhan Bank, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.